The Bitcoin cycle isn't dead, it's evolving. And if you're not paying attention to what's about to go down in 2026, you're going to get left behind holding the bag while the smart money makes generational wealth. The 4 year cycle everyone's been riding since 2013? Yeah, it's still breathing, but 2026 is going to throw curveballs that'll make the last decade look like kindergarten. Here's the thing that'll blow your mind. We're potentially staring down the first cycle where Bitcoin doesn't just pump and dump like clockwork, but where the rules get rewritten mid-game. And if you're still playing by the old playbook, buy the dip, sell the rip, rinse and repeat, you might actually miss the biggest wealth transfer of your lifetime. Quick heads up, this is for educational and entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Do your own research, folks, and consult a pro before making moves. So buckle up because I'm about to break down exactly why the Bitcoin cycle is alive and kicking. Despite the debates on whether it's shifting or fading, what's changing in 2026 that nobody's talking about, and how you can position yourself to ride this wave instead of getting crushed by it. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. Why are people even saying the Bitcoin cycle is dead? Well, every bear market, the same choir of doomsayers crawls out claiming this time is different. Bitcoin is finished, the party's over. We heard it in 2018 when Bitcoin crashed from 20,000 to 3,000. We heard it in 2022 when Luna imploded, FTX went supernova, and everyone's favorite CEOs turned out to be frauds. And guess what? Bitcoin didn't just survive, it came back stronger and more unstoppable than ever. But here's where it gets interesting. The traditional Bitcoin cycle has been the same story on repeat. Halving happens, supply shock kicks in, price goes parabolic, retail FOMO's in at the top, whales dump, bear market destroys dreams, rinse and repeat every 4 years like clockwork. It's been so predictable you could set your watch to it. But something's shifting beneath the surface that's about to throw a wrench in that beautiful, predictable machine. So, what's actually changing? Let me hit you with 3 massive factors transforming the Bitcoin cycle, and why 2026 is going to separate the wheat from the chaff. Number 1. Institutional adoption just went from 0 to 100 real quick, and these Wall Street sharks don't play by retail rules. We're talking BlackRock, Fidelity, and every major financial institution that spent a decade calling Bitcoin rat poison, suddenly launching ETFs and stacking sats like their bonuses depend on it. The Bitcoin ETF approval in 2024 was the starting gun, and by 2026 we're going to see adoption at a scale that makes 2017 and 2021 look like practice labs. Here's why this matters. Institutions don't panic sell when Bitcoin drops 20%. They don't check the price every 5 minutes and freak out because some Twitter influencer said the sky is falling. They're in this for the long haul, and their entry changes the entire supply-demand dynamic. When billions flow in from pension funds and sovereign wealth funds, it creates a price floor that didn't exist before. Translation? The massive 80 to 90% crashes we saw in past bear markets? Those might be dead and buried, replaced by shallower corrections and sustained uptrends. But here's the kicker nobody's talking about. This institutional money comes with strings attached. Which brings me to the next game-changing factor. Number 2. Government regulation is coming in hot, and it's going to separate real Bitcoin believers from paper-handed tourists faster than you can say, Capitol Hill hearing. For years, Bitcoin existed in this beautiful gray zone where governments mostly ignored it. Those days? Over. With Europe's MiCA framework already rolling out uniform rules and the US advancing toward clearer guidelines, by 2026 we're seeing regulations that fundamentally reshape how people interact with Bitcoin. Now, before you start doom scrolling, pump the brakes. Regulation is actually a double-edged sword. Yeah, some regulations will suck. More KYC, more surveillance, more Big Brother watching your wallet. But regulation also brings legitimacy, and legitimacy brings mainstream adoption. When your parents and your skeptical uncle who still thinks Bitcoin is for criminals all feel safe buying it through their Fidelity account, that's when the real money enters the game. Here's the wild part. Regulation might actually kill the 4-year boom-bust cycle by smoothing out speculative mania. When market manipulation gets prosecuted and pump-and-dump schemes get nuked, Bitcoin starts behaving less like a meme stock and more like digital gold. For 2026, this means steadier gains, less insane volatility, and a market that rewards patience over gambling. But there's one more massive shift happening that's going to redefine everything. Number 3, the Bitcoin narrative is evolving from number go up to opt out of the system. And that changes who's buying and why. In previous cycles, most people bought Bitcoin to get rich quick and buy a Lambo. But by 2026, the macro environment is forcing a fundamental mindset shift. Think about it. Inflation is still a persistent concern. The dollar is losing purchasing power faster than the Fed can print excuses. Real estate is unaffordable for an entire generation. Stock valuations are clown world absurd, and trust in institutions is at all-time lows. Into this chaos walks Bitcoin, offering something revolutionary, a monetary system that can't be printed, can't be confiscated, and can't be controlled by the same suits who crashed the economy in 2008. This narrative shift means people aren't just buying Bitcoin to trade it. They're buying it to hold it, to protect their wealth, to opt out of a broken system. And when your reason changes from "I want Lambo" to "I want financial sovereignty," you don't sell when it drops 20%. You buy more. This psychological shift is what's going to power Bitcoin through 2026 and beyond. If you're thinking about your own Bitcoin journey and what's stopping you from going all in on this vision, what's holding you back? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what's keeping you on the sidelines. So here's where all these factors collide to create the 2026 scenario nobody's fully prepared for. The Bitcoin cycle isn't dead. It's just growing up. The wild days of 100x pumps and 90% dumps are getting replaced by something more sustainable, more institutional, and honestly, more boring. But boring doesn't mean unprofitable. It means the game is changing from degenerate gambling to strategic wealth building. Here's my take on 2026, based on trends up to mid-2026. Though, keep in mind, expert views vary and markets can change rapidly. Instead of the traditional parabolic blow-off top, followed by a devastating crash, we could see a more measured climb with shallower corrections, or even a quieter year if the classic cycle holds. Instead of retail FOMO driving the bus off a cliff, institutional accumulation will create a sustained uptrend. Instead of Bitcoin being dismissed as speculative, it's going to cement its position as a legitimate store of value that every serious investor needs exposure to. And here's the beautiful part. This evolution actually makes Bitcoin stronger, not weaker. When the price is less volatile, more people can stomach holding it. When regulations provide clarity, more institutions can allocate to it. When the narrative shifts from speculation to sovereignty, more people build conviction that lasts through downturns. But you gotta position yourself now. Stack sats consistently. Self-custody your Bitcoin so you're not at the mercy of exchanges. Build conviction by understanding why Bitcoin matters beyond just the price. And most importantly, zoom out and think in decades, not months. The people who win in 2026 won't be the ones chasing pumps. They'll be the ones who accumulated steadily, held through volatility, and understood that the real cycle is measured in eras, not years. So here's the bottom line. The Bitcoin cycle isn't dead, but 2026 will be different in ways that'll catch most people off guard. The boom-bust extremes are fading, replaced by institutional adoption, regulatory clarity, and a maturing narrative. And if you're smart, you'll use this transition to your advantage, stacking harder, holding longer, and building generational wealth that survives whatever chaos the traditional system throws at us. If this video just clicked for you, smash that like button right now. Subscribe for more Bitcoin reality checks that cut through the noise and hit that bell so you never miss an upload. Share this with anyone still sleeping on what's coming and drop a comment. Do you think the 4-year cycle is done or just evolving? What's your game plan for 2026? Now get out there, stack those sats, and let's make 2026 the year we look back on as the turning point. See you in the next one.